You may close your eyes and come to a position of meditation, being gentle with your body and your mind, inwardly and outwardly connected with everything, and you are leaning toward peace and calmness, tranquility and wisdom. It will be helpful to let go of any past burdens, any future anxieties, and settling down here and now in this moment. You may notice your breath is happening now. You apply mindfulness to each experience of your breathing in and breathing out. You may notice your whole upper body is breathing in and breathing out. Or you can notice these sensations as they happen. As you're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and thinking are actively happening in some ways in your mind, you can notice what is the most prominent sense faculty with a little bit of examining your own present experience. As you remain aware of your experiences, your attention may go back to your in breath and out breath, and that becomes your most prominent experience. As your in breath and out breath, that is bodily sensation, become your focus, notice warm air flowing into your lungs to the body and coming out. Unplugged from the outside world, notice tranquility and peace, making space here in your present being. No use of complaining here, no use of building old habits or strengthening these old habits. You notice your thoughts coming and going. When your eyes are closed, seeing has stopped. When you do not pay much attention to sounds, hearing also does not bother you. So at the end, thoughts come and go, and you begin noticing these thoughts belonging to pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings. You can also notice that there is no control over what comes next, what becomes the most prominent sense faculty next. And in all these experiences, mind is the forerunner. Experiences are mind made. You may notice that pure mind brings harmony and peace. Impure mind brings unskillful thoughts. Based on these temporary unskillful or skillful thoughts, your identity is shaped. Identifying with any of these alone can bring you trouble or peace. So there is a choice. Now you can do a little exercise in your mind, noticing thoughts of attachment, thoughts of aversion, thoughts of cruelty, and then dividing them to one side and separating thoughts of non attachment, thoughts of loving kindness, thoughts of non cruelty to another side. This requires some mindfulness. You can compliment your mind yourself, saying, clever. You identified the thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of letting go, and notice any tension, any tightness, the disappearance of any tension, any tightness. Immediately after noticing the thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of letting go, thoughts of non attachment, thoughts of loving kindness, thoughts of non cruelty, and any harmless, pure, wholesome thoughts. You can notice that indulging in any thoughts of harming oneself or others, any thoughts of aversion, any thoughts of attachment can be dangerous. Noticing that alone helps you stay away from those thinking, those kind of thoughts, and moving away from them toward peace and calmness. Simple thought of bringing up a smile can change your present experience here and now. So you're noticing right effort helping you guide your mind, and right effort is part of the Eightfold Path that we practice in Buddhism. You can now come out of your meditation. So today we have a very useful teaching of the Buddha. This is from the middle length discourses of the Buddha, and we are using Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. Dvedha Vitakka Sutta. Vitakka is the Pali word for thoughts, and Dvedha, Dvedha is dividing thoughts. And this is actually the direct experience of the the ascetic Gautama before he became the Buddha. So he's sharing his own experience here to his monks. This is what the Buddha says. Monks, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, so bodhisattva is someone aspiring to be the Buddha. They talk about bodhi heart, bodhi chitta. So bodhi is awakening, and bodhisattva. Sattva is a being who goes being born in many lives with that one goal of becoming enlightened and helping others to become enlightened. So while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, he says, it occurred to me, suppose that I divide my thoughts into two classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of cruelty. And I set on the other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non ill will, and thoughts of non cruelty. So here, thoughts of sensual desire is kama vitaka. Thoughts of ill will is vyapada vitaka. And thoughts of cruelty is hinsa vitaka. Vihinsa is another word. So these three thoughts, thoughts of sensual desire can be the desire to indulge in any of the sensual um, faculties, and thoughts of ill will can be being irritated about people or annoying um, feelings. This person is annoying, this place is annoying, this sitting posture is annoying, this bed is annoying, this food is annoying, that is also building aversion in you. And thoughts of cruelty, wanting to take revenge, destroy someone, or destroy oneself, these thoughts. And the Bodhisattva says, as I abided thus, diligent, these are qualities he had, ardent and resolute. If a thought of sensual desire, a thought of sensual desire arose in me. So he was watching his mind, and a thought of sensual desire arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of sensual desire has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. So he is using thoughts again to think about what happens with this kind of thoughts. So, what is an example for a thought of sensual desire? And how that example can affect oneself, others, and both. And it obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered this leads to my own affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to others' affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to the affliction of both, it subsided in me. When I considered this obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana, it subsided in me. So he used more thoughts, more reasoning to maybe redirect, to get rid of that thinking. Whenever a thought of sensual desire arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. So he did the same with ill will, and he did also the same with thoughts of cruelty. And this is where, to keep things simple, I haven't spoken about an example yet. Let's say for a monk who is in the forest meditating, someone brings food and you see uh, overindulgence in conversation with that kind of person. And instead of indulging in that conversation, you remove your mind from that thinking, knowing that this leads to my own affliction, this leads to the affliction of others. How does that lead to affliction of others? It depends on the thought that they may not want to be there engaged in that conversation, and it obstructs wisdom. Sometimes, our senior monks have told us when some people bring subjects like politics in the temple, you can begin talking about Dhamma, and they usually, if they have no interest in Dhamma, if they have no interest in teachings, they will quickly go home. So that's a trick we can use. But here, it depends on, each thought has its own intention, its own nature, and you need to apply a little bit of mindfulness to see where it leads you to, where it is taking you toward. This is where the Buddha says that what you think you become, whatever a monk frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. I like this very, very important piece of teaching. What you think you become is to keep things simple. It is easy to understand this piece of teaching with that quote: "What you think you become." Uh, this is where actions originate in our mind. Um, if he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, he has abandoned the thoughts of renunciation. So sensual desire obstructs the thoughts of letting go. Renunciation is to be seen from a perspective of a monk here. Monks practice renunciation, relinquishment in their mind all the time. And it is difficult to renounce things when the mind is more inclined toward sensual desire, wanting to indulge out there in the world. uh, so same with someone who is indulging in angry thoughts. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of ill will, so his mind inclines towards aversion, hating people, hating the world. That is because the thoughts are, the mind is full of thoughts of anger. And the same with thoughts of cruelty. Here in the West, people think of anger as a way of getting things done. Anger to control their computer when it's not functioning well, you yell at the computer. And all that anger is in you, and you are expressing it toward this object that does not understand anything that you are saying. Imagine someone working on stocks, and the stock market comes down crashing, and your mind is building a whole spectrum of aversion, uh, releasing so much tension, yelling at a computer screen. This is also like someone watching a tennis game, and your favorite player is not playing so well, and you are smashing the computer, the TV screen out of frustration. That TV screen didn't do anything to deserve that. So where was that built? It was built within one's own mind. Um, so we can now also skip a little bit and see this simile of the Buddha. So this simile is speaking about some person who is looking after cows. This is a cowherd, and he has to lead his cows or guide them, discipline them, and continuously watch them, because in case any cow destroys someone else's property, that this person gets the blame. can be punished, can be imprisoned. So this is an example the Buddha used. And uh, someone getting imprisoned or punished and all that is also seeing the disadvantages of your own thinking. If you think this way, these are the results. If you think this way, these are the results. You see, so this is a self exercise. So when unwholesome states occurred, seeing their danger, degradation, defilement, defiling of the mind, uh, and then seeing the blessing of letting go, blessing of cleansing the mind, purifying your mind. And now the mind is bright, pure, and unblemished. There's no, it's like a spotless, beautiful place. And I like to also bring the simile of a lotus here that when the mind is given meditation, a time to meditate, it opens. And when the mind opens like a lotus, each layer brings more fragrance, more delicacy, beauty out in you. And it opens with the kind of wisdom that you are applying to each step of the way. It's like a lotus getting exposed to the sunlight and begins opening slowly, steadily, but beautifully. And outer layers of your mind has thoughts of cruelty, thoughts of ill will, thoughts of attachment. But when these outer layers open and inner layers are visible to you, the inner layers are more delicate and soft and has loving kindness, sweetness in them. That is how I like to look at mind opening. And mind opens as toward the end of this teaching, the Buddha talks about the jhanas, different stages of awakening, knowledges that one goes through as you experience meditation level. Um, as a result of discipline in the mind, now the work has become easy. Just as when the crop has been taken into the village, a cowherd would guard his cows while staying at the root of a tree or out in the open, since he needs only to be mindful that the cows are there. So too, there was need for me only to be mindful that those states were there. So when your job is somewhat accomplished, that you don't have to think much now, you just stay relaxed, like the Buddha did when even after becoming enlightened. After becoming the Buddha, he did some meditation every day, so that he just had a peaceful abiding. That is how he liked to put it. But as he was meditating before becoming the Buddha, his job is done, I mean, in a way that his mind is now directed toward pure thoughts. There's no much effort. He says, tireless energy was aroused in me and unremitting mindfulness was established. My body was tranquil and untroubled, my mind concentrated and unified. So anyone who practices meditation knows that this can happen. Mind comes to a place where there is tranquility, untroubledness, stillness, purity, and pure radiance. And this is when you can seclude from sensual pleasures and secluded from unwholesome states, enter and abide in the first jhana. So seclusion here is like we did in the meditation, closing your eyes, closing all your sense faculties, and seclusion also from unskillful thinking. that kind of seclusion, not seclusion from everybody else. You may be living with a group of 3 billion people, but you can still come to a seclusion when you detach yourself from this kind of thinking. So he applies his mind toward that seclusion and enters and abides in the first jhana. So different knowledges arose in him. I also said in the email that was shared that overthinking can happen in a person. You know, it's in this sutta that you find that someone thinking too much can get into a place where it leads to affliction, obstruction of wisdom, causes difficulties. So any thoughts that uh, is not peaceful, that is controlling oneself and controlling others, and any thoughts that is about attachment, not no. I have seen this image of a person holding a rope, and that rope is pulling his hand towards something, and the tighter you hold that rope, there's bleeding happening in that person. And imagine a person's mind who is grasping onto something. There is some sort of something blocking in them from saying what is happening around them. That mind is not open. Mind is so closed, and there's some darkness, and you have to see through that darkness, and it's very difficult when the mind is in that dark place. So what has happened in that person's mind is gone in the direction of wherever the mind directed them to. Mind it alone has troubled them so far to take them in the direction of not loving oneself and others, especially when you have loving kindness toward oneself. You are at ease. You see, any thoughts of aversion can be cruel. That is a way of being cruel to oneself. And it obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, leads away from peace. Instead of looking at the word nibbana, you can say leads away from peace. This is where you may think that overthinking has taken you to a place of obstructing your wisdom, causing difficulties and leading oneself away from peace. All right, so I have been talking so much. Anything that you want to share? Any questions?
Thank you very much. It always is wonderful to have this meditation and the reminder to bring things back to sort of the middle path and loving kindness. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome, Lorraine.
Yeah, I could tell that to follow the middle path is really hard because all these thoughts in reality pop up, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the past hour, I could observe my mind and sensuality, ill will, and cruelty. They do occur.
Mm-hmm.
So just being aware of that, you realize it's very, very hard.
Mm-hmm. Yes, what you said is also interesting about that past 1 hour. So imagine how many hours of the day we spend with our mind alone in a room, and how far we travel with this mind. Mind travels very far to different places. There's a story about this young man whose uncle was an enlightened monk, and this young man was not so interested in meditation. So this young man thought, okay, I don't find my uncle monk's, I don't find this monastery useful to me. And he thought, he will, especially this young man tried to offer a set of robes to his uncle, and the uncle monk did not receive it, did not want the robes, saying, I have enough, give it, just, I don't need more robes. So the young man was upset, and he thought, okay, I'm going to leave this place and sell these robes, and um, with the money I will buy a goat, and then with the goat I will make, I will, I will, I will, I will make milk, and now eventually I will make more money and get a cow, and then when the cow has a baby cow, and so he went on thinking that way, and he thought, okay, now eventually when I have more money, I will find a beautiful girl and I will marry, and with that, with my wife, I will visit this uncle here, and on my way, um, also now they also have a baby. On my way, my wife will drop I will ask my wife to hold the baby, and if she drops the baby, I will hit her with this fan. And he hit the uncle with the fan, Uncle Monk with the fan. So how far his mind went, and the Uncle Monk asked me, see, you thought of hitting this wife, but why did you hit me?
Read mind.
So the Uncle Monk was able to read the mind of this young man, and the young man was so embarrassed. He realized that the Uncle Monk had good intentions toward him, never had bad intentions, and he refused the robe because he actually did not need the robe. So sometimes somebody's actions may be interpreted differently in your mind. It's just a mind's creation. So these are things that can happen. This is just one example how mind travels far, lives invisible, and disciplining this mind is very, very important, and it brings peace to oneself. And when you are at peace, you are at peace with everything else. Without peace, you can't look for peace outside and bring it inside. It's a thing that you develop in here.
I remember the first course of Pali, the first page was Chitang, Dantang, Gutang, Rakitang, Samutang.
Yeah.
Mahatotaya Samutang.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Because we don't realize that at every moment that we need to guard our mind. We need to protect our mind. We need to subdue our mind.
Yeah.
Right. That's so important.
Chittan Dantan Sukhavahang. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Mind tamed brings sukha, blessings. So the Buddha goes on to give more similes in here, and he brings up more little pieces of teachings, but I did not want to overwhelm you with more instructions here. I thought, I can focus on just about that overthinking and what you think you become aspects, just to keep things simple. And so you can perhaps go back to revisit these suttas. And with this, you may also read the next sutta that is about stilling of unsettling thoughts, Vitaka Santana Sutta. It's also about Vitakas, thoughts. So number 19 and number 20 are put together. Although these are middle-length discourses, they are a little longer. Maybe when these were taught, the Buddha used all night to teach them to monks until they got it. So, but nowadays we don't talk teachings all night. Maybe we can try that here one day.
I spoke with my parents this morning. I we feel so much blessed to receive these teachings. Because nowadays in mainland China, it's very hard to listen to this kind of Dharma discourse. I mean, most of the temples are just giving religious rituals, but they don't give teaching the correct social behavior of people and mind of people. That's much, much needed.
Yeah, correct social behavior comes from actually disciplining the mind.
Disciplining the mind, exactly.
You know that other saying that your thoughts become your words and your words become your actions. This teaching that we just learned today is very similar to that. Where people use the weapons. It all starts with their mind. They concentrate on something and eventually they act upon it. So this mind is a very very powerful thing. That for example, young kids playing computer games. One day they want to experience it for real, and they may not see the value of human lives and may just start using weapons without being very responsible about what they do, and that is very dangerous to the society.
Yeah, I think I had the personal experience. The computer games and also the videos and movies are full of violence and sexuality.
Yeah, our mind doesn't know how to take them unless we discipline them.
Yeah.
The mind the right way. Maybe we can revisit these teachings again and again and learn more. But for today, this is it, and let's share some merits to end the program. May the suffering ones be suffering free and fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you and have a great evening. Bye-bye.